The goal here is to look at all of the ships from the monthly report and all the ships that we've seen talked about recently and kind of just get updated on where everything is. We've got our spreadsheet here, our handy dandy spreadsheet, and we're going to update it as we go. Let's start with the Starlancer TAC. They just released a video for this one. And to be quite honest, the ship is freaking awesome.
And between that and the cargo bay is a small medical room.
No other MISC ships has a medical bay, so it was a bit hard at the first to get used to it, like how the design will be.
I love this. I think this is my favorite medical bay in the whole game so far.
What I feel the people will notice most will be the aesthetic of it. These bright lights and those metal floors. It's a bit high-tech, but it's not like very high maintenance.
The engineering and the cockpit are the same as the Max.
And in the cockpit, it's very spacious. It's accommodate pilot, co-pilot. It looks really cool because it's integrated with the bridge.
The turret room is located in the belly of the ship. At first glance, it resembles a shrine to warfare, with all the red lights around the ammunition, and the turret sits on the left and the right. It looks really cool. The animations are really cool, from the hatch closing over the player to the seat rotating and going into the turret, and the guns sliding out in preparation for battle.
I hear the firing arc on this thing is terrible, on this turret. I haven't actually gotten to see anything on it yet, but
In preparation for battle.
I don't know, we'll have to see. They're purposefully not showing that, right? So this ship is clearly ready for the game. Release is imminent. And it's coming out probably within the next like 2 weeks. So I don't even, let's see. I need to come up with a better label for this than team. Like I said, I didn't make this spreadsheet. Somebody else did. Somebody else, I mean Google. But release is imminent. We'll call this I'm just going to call this a quest runner, to be honest. It's like really good for that. Any notes? Any notes, guys? Any notes? Yay. We like this ship. Yay. And the first mention of this would have been November 2024. All right. So that's a Starlancer TAC. Let's talk about the next one. What was it? The Asgard. Don't actually know too much about this. They just kind of showed it to us briefly here. So here's the Asgard. And it does look a lot like a Valkyrie. You see the name here. It's confirmed. It's a little bit, it's mostly similar. I think it's got a wider set hips back here. It's got the booty. The thrusters are all the way up here, which I'm not entirely sure why. It looks interesting. It definitely adds a different silhouette and visual style to it. But as far as like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe it would make sense. I feel like the connection point would be lower, but the thruster might still be high. I don't know. So this ship is mainly meant for vehicle transportation on a smaller scale. But it's fairly similar to the Anvil Valkyrie. Not really to the point where you could just make them a modular ship or a direct variant of each other, but it's close. We will go over this here in a couple of minutes. We're going to look at this ship overall and get a better idea of how it is. The Anvil Asgard. This one is a vehicle transport. Release is imminent. Big booty Valkyrie. First mention, May of 25. Straight to flyable. Graycat MTC. We literally just went over this, so pretty clear that this thing is coming along like right now. So let's go ahead and add this one to the sheet. MTX roll is a ground raider. Rework or gold pass. Well, actually, that would still go here. So we can even add rework and make this like yellow. And then we'll add gold pass as like a... Wait, how does that make sense? Why did I make the rework golden colored and the gold pass I was going to make purple? Let's change that around. This one will be gold. This one will be purple. There we go. Great for 2-person ground contracts. Yeah. First mention, November 2024. because, as you all may remember, we go back to CitizenCon and see that the second vehicle is indeed this Graycat. So we still got this one. Still got this one. We just now are getting this as well. We got this. We got this. We have no idea what this is. Don't know this. We're working on this. We got this. Yeah, we got this. They're working on this. Working on this. We actually don't know for sure what's going on with this, but they are working on this. So they're working their way through that silhouette video very well. But the MTX is definitely getting passed off there. And this last one is the Guardian. We actually don't have news on that either, but we do have a couple of shots of that from this recent video. Not many. And they keep it kind of in wraps. So here's one. This is the first one I saw and I was like, wait, that looks like the Guardian, but it looks cooler. Like, it looks more like the TIE Bomber or the TIE Interceptor, huh? Because these are longer, these are wider. I love the way this looks, man. I'm about to just disable all the missiles, save that weight for myself, put some repeaters on this, and use this as my runabout. The only thing it's missing is a freaking bed. Ah, that kills me. So this is the new Guardian here. And there's a couple of shots of it throughout this episode. I think the next one might actually be at the Invictus here. Yeah. So here it is again. You can kind of see it in more light. But we will know more about this later in the week. And here's your confirmation that the Starlancer is coming out at Invictus. It's definitely confirmed. Yeah, see, I'm going to do this. Repeaters on this ship. Oh, that already looks so cool. Oh, man. Very nice. I kind of like the screens, too. Honestly, a two-person fighter from Mirai would be very interesting to see. I wonder what that would look like. So that's the Guardian MX. Where is that on our list? Release imminent. Invictus. No bed. But really cool looking. And for that reason, I'm not out. This was first mentioned November of 2024. It counts, right? Not like, technically it wasn't in the 2023 one. Okay. Now we finally can check out the monthly report. Let's get rid of some of these tabs. It's too much. I'm overwhelmed. In the EU, the team focused on closing out tasks for Invictus launch week, with the MISC Starlancer also completed for its upcoming flyable release. Progress was also made on 4 unannounced ships. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's start by getting rid of these 2. And put a couple rows here. 1 row, 2 row, 3 row, 4. And name these all unannounced. Unannounced ship. See, this is going to be way easier to keep track over the course of these monthly reports now, guys. Okay, so these are all excuse me. These are all unannounced ships. There we go. So we got unannounced ships. What were they saying about these? Progress was made on 4 unannounced ships. The first is progressing through White Box towards full production. What does that mean, towards full production? Oh, well, yeah, what does that mean, towards full production? The only thing I can think that means is that it is currently has a lot of hands off in the White Box phase. And when they say full production, they mean they're going to bring in sound folks, tech art, animation, all that stuff. We have no idea what this is because they didn't, this is literally all they say about it. So all we know is that it's in the White Box phase. Now, if it's headed towards full production, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a potential IAE release. So I'm going to put it in as maybe IAE, and then we'll change that up as we keep going. Let me double check our March monthly report. See if it was mentioned there. This might be a first mention for this ship. All right, so in the UK, an unannounced vehicle passed gray box review, so that would not be this. 2 other vehicles received bug fixing pass, not this. Pioneer and White Box, no. Progressed on 2 upcoming RSI ships. We don't know what those are. Oh, okay. First is Apollo. Second is the Perseus. All right. Work continued on 3 unannounced vehicles. 2, a variant of a popular ship passed gray box review. So we don't know what that is, but let's put it down. So this is a, let's put this here. Unannounced ship. It passed its gray box review, which means it is in final art at this point. It might still be in gray box, but it passed its review. It says a variant to a currently popular ship, first mentioned in March 2025. Passed gray box review in March. That's all we know. So we'll keep that on there. We don't know a role. All we know is it's unannounced. What comes after that? Another variant is approaching gray box review. So that's an additional variant, unannounced ship. It was in gray box last we heard. Approaching gray box review in March. We'll also put this down as a March 2025 mention. And wasn't there another one? An all-new model entered production in preparation for its white box review in early April. Actually, yeah, so let's pass this gray box review. So this one would be then an all-new. You know what? I kind of want to bring back that column now. This is for vehicle type. And we will say the 2 options here are new model, variant, or rework / gold standard. And that way we can take the gold pass out of this. So this will be stages and this will be status. I'll switch that up here in a second. We're gonna make this actually gold because we fancy. Yeah, it's a good gold. A variant will be blue, and a new model will be a lovely tomato red. E5 3838, baby. This is a variant to a popular ship, and this is a gray box review in March. That was another variant. And then this new one was a new model, unknown. And it's preparing for its white box review at that time. First mention, March 2025. Did they leave us any notes here? No, just white box review in early April. Okay. So I think that's it for the March report. I really wanted to get the March information just to... Oh, my camera just died. What the heck? All right. Sorry, y'all. I just lost camera for some reason. Some areas progressed because the Apollo white box review in early April. Okay, let's just double check February just to make sure we're not missing anything. February monthly report. Hopefully that... Hopefully the camera comes back soon. It's plugged in.
Jinxed it.
Yeah. We can't talk good about technology these days. We're gonna have to wait a little bit to turn it back on. Okay, there were no... Is it overheating? Yeah, there's no ship news on February, so we're good there. All right. So I think we're pretty set. Let's continue on with the April monthly report now. So... Progress was made on 4 unannounced vehicles. The first is progressing through white box towards full production. So we have nothing on that. Maybe IAE will say progressing towards full production in April. They didn't say if this is a variant or not. but they're unannounced vehicles, so I'm assuming they're new models. So we'll put this in as a new model. The next one is approaching its gray box review and LOD 0 complete stage. Now, what we don't know is if that's one of these that they had already mentioned. Who's to say this second one approaching its gray box review in April isn't also maybe this one that was progressing towards full production in March? Okay, the third was briefly shown on a recent episode of Inside Star Citizen. I don't even know what this could be. Hey, we're back! Mrs. Tomato with the IT support. I hope the camera survives. Recent Inside Star Citizen, what could that even be? The only thing I can think of is the Star Citizen Live where they showed off concept work, but that's not Inside Star Citizen. That's Star Citizen Live. This is an unannounced ship that was shown on Inside Star Citizen. Let's put this down. Must be a new model. No idea where it would be. Did they say where it would be? Briefly shown on Inside Star Citizen progressing through concept. Okay. So it is a concept, new model, shown on Inside Star Citizen in Q1. Which means that the first time we seen this thing was probably March of 2025, or at least close to. It would have had to have been the month, the episodes, anything that came up before the 7th. So it couldn't have been either of these two. Definitely wasn't this. That was just the TAC. Could it have been this? Was there any ships? Were there any ships in this I missed? I mean, they could have made a mistake. I really hope that they can get something as simple as referencing Star Citizen Live or Inside Star Citizen correctly, because that's kind of a big difference. But I'm with you. I mean, where else? What else could it be? Inside Star Citizen is completely drained of anything beyond 2 weeks out, so it's not like they would have shown a ship on there. We'll mark this as tentatively the RSI Salvager. Expected release, meh. Half 2. So this Salvager thing you can find here. They go over some of the possible possibilities and options.
This was meant to be like it's similar-ish to the Mantis actually. So it was like had some inspiration from that. So it's got on the front. It's got its little grabbies for doing its salvage stuff.
So the salvage arms will come out of these things here in the front?
Yeah, they did like come out, or they'd be like, we're not sure how much movement it's going to have on it yet, so there's still a lot of interpretation there, but it's also got like the little frilly bits on the side, like what the Vulture's got for the fracture field for the disintegrating stuff. I quite like that one.
I think it's very cool. Chat's taking to this one really well.
Hell yeah.
Looks like a kind of a...
Chat, is it real?
It looks like a cover car.
Looks like a... It looks like a RSI hover quad ship. Like it definitely has some CNOU feelings to this, but also RSI. I guess they're both pretty utilitarian in design. This is a possible concept for an RSI salvage ship they're working on.
Chat, is it?
And then there's this guy.
This guy, he's much more stereotypical RSI, I guess. It's like kind of got a Zeus-y silhouette. So it's a lot flatter. This one. But it's also got its big salvage grabbies on the front.
Someone was a little edgy with that matte black.
I can't remember what manufacturer is the
Anvil.
Huh?
Anvil?
Yeah. But I definitely, I look at this and I see some Pisces influence and everything. But we have this conversation all the time. Car makers ape each other left and right. You know, when Dodge brought that first Challenger back, or was it Charger or the Challenger? I can't remember which one came before. And then suddenly you saw Mustang emulate it. You saw everybody started making all throwbacks and stuff. So I see some Pisces stuff in here. But yeah, there's no mistaking the Zeus influence.
Yeah, it's like
and the RSI.
It wasn't exactly meant to have the same sort of Zeus at first, but then I looked at it, I was like, hang on, looks quite similar. So I'm gonna say it was on purpose, actually. Yeah.
And again, the brief here is a salvage starter. So this is the entry-level ship. Like when we say starter, I mean like you could start your Star Citizen journey with this.
Yeah,
one.
it's pretty like.
And obviously you would upgrade to things like the Fortune or the.
This is the salvage version of the Golem.
And then our third and final look, This is bold.
I quite like this one personally. This one was my, I guess, favorite of them, but it's not.
To be honest, I think the first one looks the most like what I would expect. The second one, I think I like the shape the most. None of them really tell me salvage, but they got to do a lot more design work on it in order to do that. They do say RSI though, except this one says kind of Anvil.
I quite like this one personally. This one was my, I guess, favorite of them, but it's not up to me. I just make the pictures.
Looks nice.
It's quite sharp, maybe a little too sharp, some people might say, but I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty RSI. It would have you can't see it from this view, but it would have the cargo comes out the back. Only holds a few cargoes. Don't expect to be hauling massive claims in this, but I think he's neat. We'll see how it goes.
There's this.
This one looks like a little bomber to me, like a dive
idea
bomber.
in the community. We'll zoom out. We'll zoom out here.
Let us continue. What else do we have here? The fourth vehicle, the first in a while from an existing manufacturer, has been formally kicked off. Now, this is a pretty big give. It's hard not to suggest that this is going to be a small fighter from Krueger, as like we all kind of know that they haven't done anything in a while, and we've seen those concepts. I don't even have any notes for it. Other than that, we know about it. See what it looks like, or what it might look like.
I'm seeing some strong, like 1950s retro sci-fi vibes here.
Yeah, for sure. Some of the ref that Ben and John picked out was, old cars, like retro cars, 50s, hot rods, World War II planes, especially like Spitfire, P-51 Mustang, Me-262, stuff like that. So yeah, very sleek, very chrome, spiky, rounded forms. Yeah, and that's just the
little scale comparison here.
I forget how tiny the Merlin is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's going to be almost as big as the Gladius. This is going to be a cool ship.
Yeah.
I bet this will be pretty popular, actually. They haven't released a light fighter from a new company in a long time. They haven't released like very many light fighters over the last few years, I think. So this might be a new favorite for people, especially coming from Krueger.
We got some other images, some other orthos here.
I like A the most, I think. It's kind of weird with the back part, but yeah, I like A a lot.
Now, besides the retro sci-fi aspect is obvious. I also see Naboo.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
Which is the same influence. Everything Naboo was all built from those old 1950s retro sci-fi, kind of shape language and stuff. So it's one of those. It's you find lots of times there's people who are like, oh, that looks like that ship from that franchise, and it's like, no, we weren't actually looking at that franchise. It's just they were using the same influence.
Bruh, this looks nice. Yeah, I like this. I hope they went with Model A. What do you guys think they went with?
Influences we were. So some interesting posteriors here. What are we looking at? Take us through some of these options. What's this thing in the back?
Oh, this isn't an industrial ship. These are fighters. The industrial ship was was RSI.
This was just a idea for keeping the circular motif that the Merlin has. It kind of, or the Archimedes as well, has this negative space, this hole in the middle of the fuselage on the wings. Which is just a circle. So I was trying to implement that somewhere in the design. Rotating it.
I love this guy here.
Yeah, I'm pretty up.
I love this guy too. I'm sitting here. I'm struggling with picking an early favorite here. Here's some more looks at that. I'm definitely a fan of like the lowered pylon thing.
The big nacelle, yeah.
I'm remembering the fighter from the 1985 Wolfgang Peterson movie Enemy Mine right now, Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. It's this one. Let me see if I can find the one that's making me think of that one specifically. This guy down here. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Nope, wrong button. I keep reversing it.
I thought the big circle was so we could put it on like a keychain.
Lathan, you're not allowed to talk, remember? Yeah, but yeah, with the little detached pylons, it's also very reminiscent of like the Buck Rogers of fighters and stuff, which is another tremendous thing. And I think this is our last. Did you just say what's Buck Rogers? Go to sleep.
The microphone's getting beat up. Freaking John Crew over here.
Buck Rogers. 2003.
Please don't clip that and put it out of context.
All right.
Who's Buck Rogers? 2003.
So that's a look at some of the recent concept work that they've been doing. The consolidated Outland Pioneer continued through pre-production and white box phases. The modular kits were solidified alongside some structural changes to improve the flow and movement of the ship. Coolio. So the Pioneer, CNOU Pioneer, is most definitely a new model. Large base building. Still in the white box phase. Probably coming out in 26. This ship thick. And it was first mentioned in November of 2017, I think. One for the backlog. And if you don't know, we can take a look at the Pioneer real quick. Kind of showed you some of it just last week.
The bottom floor of the refinery.
Tech something 003.
Yeah, I just have to give indications. Like there is a lot of there is the name of my dog in the yellow area. There is Brangino somewhere.
Where?
Can we point?
If you look at the yellow area, but in the other images.
It's all yellow, mate.
Back in this one?
No, forward.
Forward?
Yep. Yeah, there he is.
What is Brangelino?
Yeah, Brangino.
Brangino!
Hell yeah.
And indications on the font. I don't know what to write there, but I know that something has to go there.
Did not know what
Brangin.
Indeed.
This could be British slang as well, Brangin.
So this is the most recent stuff we've heard of. But if you really want to see what this ship truly looks like, there's a very detailed walkthrough. I'll give you a whole walkthrough.
Rooms, and then, so
in the meantime, I can see I got the date wrong there.
Interior of the Pioneer. So at the back of the ship, we have the classic bridge, looks out over the expanse of the ship. And then top and bottom of that in this image, we have the escape pod rooms. And then leading off those is the access to the manned turrets that remain. Then going downstairs, we have the cargo area at the top. Doesn't look like a lot. That's 1,000 SEU of cargo now in that space.
Here's a walkthrough of it. An actual walkthrough, or a fly-through,
so we're
whatever.
going to have a little look at kind of like the concept and where it's at on the interior. We start out on the interior bridge. It's very spacious, or command deck bridge, whatever you want to call it. It gives kind of really nice views out over the front of the ship. And right up front, you've got all the consoles required that you need to kind of control the ship, as well as the kind of additional remote turret access consoles. And then at the rear, we have the main kind of navigation components and some small engineering consoles. And kind of flanking either side, we've got these two corridors, and they lead out to the manned turrets that kind of sit above the bridge. And they also have all the escape pods needed for all the bridge crew. Like I say, we want this to kind of be a home away from home, so we have a very large, comfortable habitation area. Each of the crew members, they get their own individual crew pod. And one of the nice things about this is these actually open up, and they allow kind of each crew member to kind of decide like how much privacy they actually want.
Dude, that looks like misery to sleep in. Are you kidding me? Who's clapping for this?
Open up, and they allow kind of each crew member to kind of decide like how much privacy they actually want.
It's like a large sleeping bag made of sheet metal.
This is the crafting area. We've got the 4 kind of crafting machines. And these are right next to the cargo bay, the internal cargo bay. And as John says, this holds up to 1,000 SEU of cargo, so it's pretty sizable. To make it a little bit easier, it's got its own dedicated cargo lift at the back. That again, just simplifies that kind of getting cargo in and out of the vehicle. Down at the front, we have the drone room. Now these will be 4 extra large drones, so they'll be able to craft our largest structures in game. They exit the ship out through the roof, and they're all controlled by the construction console in this area. And finally, we're just going to take a quick look at the crafting area on the ship. So you can see here we've got these blast shields down that kind of protect the crew in this area from what's going on inside. And then as these open up, we just finished making a storm. And as we see, there's a ramp that leads out, so you can drive any ground vehicle straight out the front. Between all the landing gear, and you get this really nice kind of like sense of scale as you're driving underneath out the front of the ship. And we've also got the top exit for any flight vehicles. And then finally, we have the landing pad, and this just allows us for any ships that land up on deck, we can just bring them down into the belly of the ship.
How unrealistic. Who has a Nomad these days? Suckers.
So,
GII representing the front row there. So that's like a pretty decent walkthrough of what the Pioneer looks like inside. It's freaking huge. Pretty OP in my opinion. I mean, I'm using that term very lightly. I don't actually mean OP like they've designed it to break the game. It's just got everything it needs, except for people. So I'd be interested in seeing how this thing launches into the game and what the downsides of it will be. It is massive. Big old pinata. But it is nowhere near complete. It's going to be a while. So we're definitely going to make sure that is reflected on our spreadsheet. And yeah, we'll call this extra large base building, so we could be a little more technical. Yeah, definitely 2026 expectation. Honestly, I would say October or November 2026. And we can tune that in as we get closer. The North American content team began closing out 2 new variants with polishing and bug fixing. One of these could be the Guardian MX. I don't think the other one would be the Asgard. I don't think they're calling the Asgard a variant. An all-new ship progressed too, with recent decisions being made on cargo capacity and tractor beam placement. Okay, so... Alright, so this is going to be a new model as an all-new ship. It is... release imminent. Recent decisions. Wait, all-new ship progressed with recent decisions. Oh, there's nothing about this actually getting close to polish. So we'll keep that off here for now. I actually don't know where this is. But it's going to be out this summer. Well, we don't know that either. We don't know anything about this. All that it has cargo capacity. And a tractor beam. And we'll say first mention was April of 2025. I'm actually going to link this so that we can easily get back here. Guardian MX is probably one of the variants because the Guardian and the QI were both done by the North American team, and the variant is also. Yeah, I'm thinking that is one of the variants. What do you think of the other, though? Do you think the other is the Asgard or something else? A new variant. Freaking cut this and put it over there. So variant. It's receiving polish. So we'll say we're release imminent, but I actually think this would be a, let's say June 2026 release. Possible RSI first mention April 2025. Same report. Jun 26. The RSI Apollo continued through the gray box phase with new concepts for the medbay area and the bridge. That's a good update. People like that update. People love the Apollo. We got a real hardcore Apollo fan base. And we've got that in here. RSI Apollo. We already knew it was being worked on, actually. This is a medium medical clinic. and it's working through its gray box phase. Expected release, I'm thinking half to 2025, but that's if there's gameplay. I'm really hoping they don't, well, whatever. Let's just say Q4. I'm hoping they don't release it without gameplay. If this comes out without a medical gameplay update, I will literally die. First mentioned in what, like 2017? Yeah, let's let them talk a little bit about what makes the Apollo special here.
RSI Apollo is a new medical ship. It's from RSI, which didn't get a new ship in a long while. We have 2 medical ships at the moment announced in the game, which is the Cutlass Red, which is basically the ambulance in our game, and the Endeavor with its hospital module, which is really massive and really endgame. So we needed something in between.
We had quite a short timeline on this one for a medium ship. So really early on, I did a quick sketch of the interior, passed it to concept artist and was like, something like this, and it kind of stuck basically. And it works well with RSI styling. This ship still has its flow, you know, it's still quite sleek and sexy, but you know, it's got all that angularness to it. It's like a Lamborghini, turn it into a spaceship.
The RSI Apollo is basically like a small clinic that you can go to the edge of space. This has a capacity of 6 patients with 6 beds, a crew of 2 at the front with 2 ejection beds, and it has a size 2 turret on the top of the ship at the rear, which is more a point defense turret rather than something made for dogfights or anything. And this is a remote turret. It has also 28 SCU of cargo at the back.
And then you've got medical bay space.
For all those extra body parts.
It's always that sort of fine line between sort of
seriously, this could be like a kidney smuggling mobile.
And gameplay, so it's okay, we need to basically spawn a player here, but we don't want him popping in. So the player will be delivered, there's a glass cover on top, sort of protecting the player. The thought process is that we'll have essentially like an opaque glass when there's nobody in it, and then you'll hear noises and probably lights will come on and the bed will activate, and then a person will arrive. The glass turns transparent, and you're like, okay, that, you know, the bed's occupied. At least that's how we've developed it at the moment. It's kind of like a self-healing unit. So
yeah, I think we can't even depend on knowing what this would be, but you can see that like there's drones here. It depends on drone gameplay. There's more to the Apollo than just respawning. So there's no knowing really where it's gonna be or when it might come out, but we've got it on the list because they have been mentioning it here and there, and it sounds like there's some more info on it out there that we'll probably touch on later this week. Yeah, the Ironclad was also talked about. You are right about that. We'll add that on right now. Drake Ironclad is a new model. Large boy. And last we checked, it was in white box. Expected release. Honestly, I think November of 26. Oh boy. The people love this ship. But no. It's not coming out for Invictus. Sorry, y'all. First mention of this was May of 2024. Let me show you a real quick touch up on that, just for anybody who does not remember what the Ironclad's all about. Once you see it, you'll remember it.
It kind of gives you a little bit of a get out of jail free card if you're transporting stuff that is quite valuable, quite sought after in maybe some of our less desirable systems. What it allows you to do is kind of have a little bit of security. So if you're getting attacked or you're getting yourself into trouble, if you want to save yourself, you can kind of jettison your cargo and try and get out of Dodge and kind of get out to safety. And I think that's like a really important thing as we get closer to Death of a Spaceman.
With some of the recent tech that's come online, this brought us one step closer to implementing command modules properly. So not only will you see this detachable command module feature on the Ironclad, but as well it will happen on the Caterpillar.
Interior-wise, you've kind of got 2 entrances onto the ship. You can either enter via the command module, and that takes you straight into a kind of corridor section. It's kind of like, almost like a mezzanine. You can either go up to the habitation area, which is top floor of the ship, gives you like super nice views out both the kind of cargo out the front and the rear of the ship.
or you can kind of come down the ship into the main habitation area. Alternatively, you can enter through the dock and collar airlock, which is on the opposite side of the ship. At the rear of the interior of the ship, we've kind of got the heart of the engines. It's the big kind of engineering area where we've got all of the kind of main functional components needed for moving such a large ship. And then
it's a huge
kind
ship.
of come slightly further forward, got we call it the kind of like the command deck. It's not a bridge, you can't fly the ship from it, but it's where you operate the tractor beams. It's where it kind of gives you good views out over the front and into space. You've got the tractor beam turrets.
Separating the command deck and the pilot is a very interesting choice, a pointed choice. I'm interested in seeing how that plays out.
But also, visually, you can kind of stand in this area or sit in this area and look out over the front and over the bow of the ship and kind of really see what you're trying to pull in or what you're trying to capture into your cargo hold. As we come downstairs, we've got a little kind of covered area at the rear of the cargo hold, and that is where you can store a couple of small ground vehicles or some of your equipment for moving vehicles and cargo around. And then you're into the main cargo hold of the ship, and this takes up the majority of the interior space, is this large cargo hold. One of the things that we were kind of really keen to do was give lots of different views and different angles down into this cargo hold. Again, as we're exploring slightly less lawful systems, we wanted to give the players as much opportunities as we can to kind of be safe aboard their own ship. So either side of the cargo hold, we've got these gantries that run completely front to rear on the ship, and they give great view down into your cargo bay. They also give that opportunity of if there's someone tries to board you via the cargo bay, it gives you some nice cover opportunities. And
I bet they built these easier to shoot around because the ones in the Reclaimer are so frustrating to do so with.
Also got a few little windows that kind of look down into it as well. As you move to the kind of like the very front, the very nose of the ship, those gantries lead into a kind of secure cargo area. It's somewhere that's a little bit more difficult to get to when you kind of enter the ship. The big thing we were referencing when we were looking at it was this idea of police evidence rooms. And so these kind of individual cages where you could put your most secure cargo, whatever it might be, in this area, and it would make it quite difficult to try and breach in or out of that area. So it gives us just somewhere a little bit more secure for kind of smaller cargo items. Finally, at the very front, we've got access to one of the main turrets and the tractor beam turret.
The biggest attraction for me with it is just the versatility of the cargo space. From a good citizen law standpoint.
Yeah. You can tell this is the kind of ship that's going to get people excited. And it has. It very much has. It looks like most people in chat are indeed thinking it's an IAE kind of release. We shall see. Dude, look at all this freaking stuff we're tracking already. This is insane. See, this is like, these unannounced ships are going to be so confusing because they could say something about an unannounced ship and then they could say something about another unannounced ship the next month. We don't know if it's that one or the other. So we're kind of just guessing as to what's really getting updated when it comes to these unannounced, but we'll try to keep an eye on it as much as we can. Sometimes they reference previous monthly reports when they update them. So that's why we keep the notes. But that is what we know from this monthly report. Now, as someone said, there's still a little bit more for us to take a look at. Let's jump over to the monthly report from November. It's a little while ago, I know, but it's the last time we got an update on an oh-so-special, oh-so-popular spaceship that the people lose their minds over. The Anvil Paladin also was in white/gray box back then. I was hoping that the Paladin was going to be an Ironclad shoe-in, but it very clearly is not. As a medium gunship, seems to still be in the white and or gray box phase. We'll set expectations at white just in case. I do think this is a have-to release, but I have no idea what month it might be. Probably October, November. Why don't we just put in October just for funsies? Oh man, I don't even know when this thing was first revealed to us. I think that's got to be wait, that was literally last year, huh? It was shown off at CitizenCon, right? Or Invictus. It was shown off at, not Invictus, IAE. In that case, we'll say that the last update was December. So let's just put this as IAE 2025 and this one as CitizenCon 2025. This might be all we have to look at with the Paladin, but it does provide at least somewhat of a look. You can tell it's an Anvil design just from the silhouette. It's still got that circle motif on the top, but very clearly a gunship. Big old turrets included. This is a good like 3 to 4 person ship for running combat contracts. I honestly might say take this over the Starlancer TAC if you're not worried about taking too much like a vehicle or extra cargo or anything. Because this thing's going to be great for getting in, getting out, and getting some loot really quick. And I freaking love the design. Holy crap, I love the design. This and the Legionnaire both have such like distinctly nice dropship-like designs. Love it more than the Asgard too. But we don't know where it is. So that's all we can really see of it. Oh, Argo CSV FM. I forgot about that for you. It is a variant of an already existing vehicle, but this is the small fabrication vehicle. And it was also in white box. Expected release? Ooh. Yeah, that's a hard one. This likely the first dedicated base building vehicle due to release with the first base building patch. That's my opinion on it. First revealed to us in October of 2024 and updated in December of 2024. But expected release, I do think this is I think it's a Q3. Oh, I kind of want to say October though. Which actually makes me think this isn't going to be CitizenCon 25. This might be Q1 26. This though, I say like anywhere from September to November of 2025. That's right. I make the rules on this spreadsheet.
So, I know some of you have already seen it, but this is the CSV from Argo.
So launching today is the very first ground vehicle from Argo, the construction support vehicle, CSV. So this specialized chassis is developed to take
Okay, let's skip forward to the one we actually care about.
So we have the CSV FM, which stands for fabrication module. So this has 2 medium drones on board. And we built it to fit in as many vehicles as we could practically.
You know what? Now that I think about it, this actually might not launch with the first base building. The first base building might just be that little push thing. Big old maybe here at the end of this statement.
Fit in, so it fits in vehicles from a Cutlass Black upwards. It's approximately, and everyone always asks me what ship fits in what, and I lose track of it all the time. It's about the size of a Tumbril Cyclone. So if you can put a Cyclone in a vehicle, you can put one of these in it.
Yes, I love putting things in other things.
And then it has an internal storage tank for resources. So it has a very small version of a freight elevator built into the back of it. So you feed it 1 SCU crates, it absorbs them into the holding tank on board, and then the drones will come back to the vehicle to refill. And it also has a size 0 serial generator on board for a bit of added protection.
You know, that feeding functionality that he just talked about sounds a lot like what they did here. This one. I bet it works just like this. And it's something that they're going to start putting on a lot more ground vehicles, this sort of functional freight storage kind of thing.
What happens when you run out of resources? This is where the CSV SM for supply model comes in. So the second CSV-based vehicle in the game, and this has a traditional 4 SCU cargo grid on the back. So
this one we already have.
4 1 SCU boxes.
We don't need to talk about that, but if you go all the way to the very end of the video here, it's not guaranteed this is a CSV FM. It could be, but when I was talking to Trist, he does the videos about the silhouettes. He was saying that it didn't really match up silhouette-wise, so this might be a different CSV, but it also could be the FM. Either way, this one, we don't know where this is. when it will come out. The last thing we know is that it was in white box back in November/December. And it's probably working alongside base building. I guess we could go ahead and add these other silhouettes here. No reason not to. We got a Drake mystery ship. Gosh dang it. Drake mystery ship. Obviously, it's in the concept phase, but it is a new model. We have no idea what it is. Dunno. Looks really weird, but interesting. We're pretty excited for it. But predictions are all over the place. And we will mark this down as first showing up in October 2024, which is also when it was first introduced. I almost want to have a column down here for confidence level, but I will probably touch on that next time we do this. And then there's also a CNOU mystery ship, which also is a new model. Concept phase, also don't know. Also weird looking. Also October. End October. What else do we have on here? Whoops. I actually think I might take those off because they're not technically being actively worked on. We just know about them. We added the Perseus, right? No, we didn't. We didn't even talk about the Perseus. What the heck? Okay, we'll get to that. We got the Ironclad. We got the Pioneer. We got the TAC. I think we touched on the Apollo. Did we? Yeah, we touched on the Apollo. Fortune, Guardian, Terrapin, Hornet, something, Graycat. And this is the one we just touched on. So that's basically everything. Let's touch on the Perseus real quick, though. So we haven't talked about that. But yeah, as of right now, we know about 20 plus ships that they have put into development in some way. Not all of these are being actively worked on at the very moment, but these are all of the ships that like are currently out in open development of Star Citizen. 20 plus. Good God. Let's touch on the Perseus real quick.
We had to make sure that the rear turret could not have a blind spot there, and then deal with the point defense system turrets to help alleviate those spots.
You want it to look aggressive, but you also want it to be unique. You want it to look like it's part of the family. When you see this ship, you know you're in trouble. That's what players are looking for.
So originally the brief for the ship was a real skeleton crew of 4-man. So you had the pilot, the captain, and the 2 turret gunners. But as we developed the ship, it sort of felt a bit odd that such a small crew was operating such a relatively large ship. So the crew size for the ship is 6-man. That gives you a pilot, captain, 2 manned turret guns because the S7 twin turrets are manned. And then it leaves you with these 2 extra roles that are really flexible in terms of what you want them to do.
So we wanted to layer in all the functionality that John wanted, but also make it easy to navigate. It should be clear for the player at any point what part of the ship they're in, and it's split over 3 decks. So the lower deck is your cargo and access to the lower turret, and then you go up, and then that's sort of the main deck, and that goes from front to back. You know, you can reach your front turret, torpedo room, or you can go right back into habitation and the captain's room. And there's also a central lift for ease of navigation, basically. And then the top floor is bridge, escape pods, and engineering section. So for a player, it should all be quite...
If this had a medical bay, it would be kind of like an RSI Starlancer TAC, huh? It's sort of similar. Like you could do... You still have really high ship defense. You have space for people on board. You just don't have as many like drop seats, but you have vehicle and cargo space. You don't have a medical bed. You also don't have that hangar. It's really missing that hangar. Gib hangar. Yeah. Ultimately, I think the Galaxy is going to be a good bet against the TAC. Perseus is an interesting one, though.
So for a player, it should all be quite straightforward.
I think this ship really will add something to the fleet gameplay that is growing within Star Citizen. We've already seen aspects of that with the Invictus launch week. You've seen the capital ships in game. There's obviously the Hammerhead in game already. When this is in game, you'll also have much more of a rounded fleet to play with that will provide a great threat and deterrence to other players.
If we've got missions to fit it too. I love the sandbox in this game, but with these bigger ships coming in, they really got to make sure we get good missions and opportunities for players to just kind of run through.
And is sort of built around a capital ship, or capital ships as its core. So you have the Javelin, which is a destroyer, so that is designed for really duking it out with other big capital ships. You have the Idris, which is a carrier, so can sort of take on other big ships. It's got a big railgun on the front, but primarily it's there to deliver fighters. And then you have the Polaris, which is a long-range torpedo boat. And you have the Hammerhead, which is a great anti-fighter screen. But what we're missing is this hybrid role that sits between the Hammerhead and the Polaris, that is your fleet defense ship, that is moderately large size and capable of dishing out firepower to deal with large ship threats that aren't quite capital ships.
It has been a while since we've done an RSI ship. Obviously there are some in the fleet already, and then you take all those and you fold in the functionality.
When we were designing this ship, it was obviously built around the concept of having these large turrets. That you had a bridge on the front, but
guns are freaking huge.
Felt like a Polaris with a turret.
This turret looks like it's bigger than an Aurora. Jeez. So yeah, that's the Perseus, and that was, I think, the last video that I really wanted to touch on to make sure we at least got eyes on all the ships. And I think with that, that's everything. I think we covered all the ships. Might be missing something, but we'll be getting to this every month. We'll come back to this after the monthly report and do a little update, or maybe even if they do like a video of the ship. But this is our current ongoing what ships are being worked on now video. And hope you got some info from this. See you in the next one.